Jordan Windle, congratulations on making Team USA. We talked a few months ago at Big 12s and Tokyo was the goal. Now that it's a reality, what is it like?
I mean, it's extraordinary. Going into the meet, obviously, I wanted to make the Olympics, but the main goal was to just have as much fun as I could. And that's what I've learned from all my mentors and as well as my dad. And I went out there and did it. I had a blast. Everyone competed at the top of their ability, which is great. And it was an amazing accomplishment and meet to be a part of.
I'm glad you mentioned mentors and your father. I want to talk about those relationships. Who are some of your mentors? And Jordan, talk about how instrumental your father has been, not only in your diving career, but in life.
Yeah. So two of my main mentors that I have right now one is David Bodaya, who won the Olympics in London. I think that was 2012, I believe. And I mean, he's an amazing guy, super nice, super easy to talk to. And it's so fun to compete with him and see how he handles certain situations and the atmosphere and the pressure. And I'm able to take that, and he shares with me how he handles all that stuff, and it helps me a lot staying grounded within myself while I'm competing. And like I said, having fun during competition, I learned that from Greg Louganis, who's my biggest mentor. He actually called me before the Olympic trials, like a week before, and asked me how I was feeling. And it's such a vague question, but I knew what he was getting at, and I just told him, I'm just ridiculously nervous because I've been to 3 Olympic trials, or I've been to 2 past ones, and obviously I didn't qualify. But I mean, the pressure that it brings to having to qualify for the biggest competition an athlete can be a part of is extraordinary, and it really does take a toll on you mentally. So he talked to me about having to work on my mental health before the competition, and treat it like I'm practicing for the most part. Nothing really changes. I've competed against all these guys and they're all nice, and no matter what, I have a whole family of supporters behind me. So whether I make it or I didn't, there are people out there that still love me, and that's been helping me accomplish all these amazing goals so far. And obviously my dad is my biggest supporter. It was amazing to have him at the trials during the finals, actually during all prelim, semis, and finals. I was able to see him through my peripheral vision while I was on the 10 meter competing. And it really did set me at ease to be able to compete. I can see the joy that he gets from watching me, and I'm just out there trying to make him proud. And so far I'm doing an okay job at it.
You're doing more than an okay job with it. I want to talk. So you mentioned nerves. One thing I love about watching you is you're just so relaxed. You're smiling. You don't look nervous. And you mentioned you could see your father in your peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
When you were up on 10 meter, would that calm you? Was that a calming factor, just seeing your father, and maybe he smiles or maybe he does a little bit of a gesture?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the relaxing factor that you got?
Yeah, I mean, so while competing, it's obviously not just my dad watching me. There's all these people, and I'm starting to be a coach, so there's all these people that somewhat look up to me, and I want to be a role model for. So if I'm standing up there and I look nervous, that doesn't really build too much confidence in other people. And I want them to know that even though you're doing something that's a little bit scary, you can still do it at a very high level. And I try to stay pretty relaxed while I'm competing, and I don't go over the top. I like to talk to people and keep things pretty chill. And it just makes it so much easier. And my dad has always been the same type of person. When he competed, he did gymnastics, he did cheerleading and all that stuff, and he was the same type of way. But we're both really competitive, and I think that makes a great athlete overall.
I think it does too. And I'm glad you touched on your father's athletic background and his ability. What advice has he given to you? I know he has been incredibly instrumental in your diving career, and you guys wrote a book together. Can we
Yes.
talk about that book and what inspired you both to come together and just make such a difference?
Yeah, so my dad and I wrote An Orphan No More, A True Story of a Boy together. And so it actually all started because when I was younger, I could never fall asleep. And the only way for me to be able to was if he sang me the drummer boy, or if he told me a story. And he'd always tell me the same story of the Prince of Cambodia, and he'd make it of me going on all these extraordinary adventures. And at one point, me being who I am, I got a little stubborn and wanted something different. So he decided to come up with the idea that we should then incorporate our own parts of a story and make one together. And by doing this, I'd hopefully get tired and fall asleep, which I did. But after a long talk and, going back and forth, we made the Orphan No More. And my dad, had the great idea of writing it down in a Word document. He got inspired by it. And, later on, we published it, and it was amazing. And I was able to actually read to a bunch of elementary school kids, and all over the place. I was able to go online and talk to people about it, which is awesome, because I love to inspire as much as I can.
Jordan, your story is just so inspiring. It's incredible. From an orphan to an Olympian, what would you tell a young boy or girl that would love to emulate the success and a career in diving in any sport that you have accomplished?
I think something that I'd like to share with people is that as long as you set yourself up for success, you can do really whatever you want. But you have to love what you do. Otherwise, you're pretty much making a job or a chore. You could think of it that way. Obviously doing the same thing over and over, being an athlete, the same routine gets kind of boring. So there are ways to change it up and to have fun and keep it different so that you don't get burnt out. But yeah, give yourself opportunity, take those chances, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And no matter what, have fun with it. And I think that's a great way to succeed.
Just speaking on your background and how you got started, tell everyone how you got into diving originally, way back.
Okay, so my dad, and I say this all the time, he is late for everything. Like, no matter what it is, going to the airport, getting breakfast, we are always late because he has to do something beforehand. But so I ended up finishing school. I was around 7 years old, and I needed to get into a summer camp. But like I said, my dad was late to it. And for the camps that I tried to get into, like football, tennis, all that, they weren't accepting because they were full. And so at one point, we were riding on a tandem bicycle down the beach of Fort Lauderdale, and we rode past the Hall of Fame. And so we just happened to go in and see a bunch of kids just jumping and flipping off the pools and the tower, off the springboards in the tower. And we took that chance and asked, hey, can I put my son into the aquatics fun camp? And they said, yeah, we have a spot. I got on, and later Tim O'Brien, who's actually the son of Dr. Ron O'Brien, who's the coach of Greg Louganis, he saw potential in me, and that was the moment where I was given opportunity to take the sport and turn it into something great. And so, a few weeks later, I tried out for the team, and I got on, and here we are now at UT competing for USA. So,
Jordan, I love it. And I love that you bring up the Hall of Fame pool, because I have to ask you your thoughts on the new tower. Are you going to go all the way up to the high dive?
There's no way. I'm already terrified of 10 meter. I can't go any higher than that. But it is an amazing pool. It's so beautiful. They've done an extraordinary job, fixing it up and everything. And I think it's going to be a great place to put a Grand Prix event for diving. And I mean, obviously cliff diving. It's going to be amazing to go visit.
You heard that. Olympian Jordan Windle, terrified of 10 meter. Jordan, I got to bring that up. And your mentor, David Budaya, has been very open about the fear element. Doing flips and twists off the 10 meter platform is definitely scary. How do you balance fear?
I think a lot of people wouldn't say they enjoy the height. There's a thrill factor that's fun to do, but I think I enjoy doing it because I like putting on a show. I like people's reaction, and I like them enjoying to watch my diving and complimenting how pretty it is, or, people coming up to me and saying, hey, I saw you do tower. You really inspired me to try diving. And that's plenty enough for me to want to keep going and doing something that's a little bit scary that I'm uncomfortable with. And that's enough to motivate me to be a role model and reach for dreams that I didn't think I'd actually able to accomplish.
Jordan, if you don't fear your dream, it's not big enough, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm glad you talked about the reaction that people have to your diving. I want to ask you, what was your family's reaction? What was your father's reaction when you made that Olympic team?
I mean, he's quite the. I mean, I'm the same way. I think I get it from him, but he's very emotional. When I made it, I could hear him yelling, "I love you." I was crying. He was crying. He was with my aunt at the time, and it was a great moment. And being able to finally see him after the event, I mean, we just had a huge hug for about 5 minutes. We just stood there hugging, and then we were talking about the event. It really was amazing, and it was finally the present that I wanted to give him for 15 years that I wasn't able to do. And I'm so happy I was able to accomplish something like that and make him proud of all the sacrifices we made.
You gave him the most amazing and unforgettable present. He will never forget this. And I know it's just the beginning, Jordan. It is just the
Hopefully.
beginning. Yes. What are your goals? I know you're solely focused on Tokyo, but I know you're very goal oriented. What are some of the goals that you have set out for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to go for the next Olympics. That kind of just depends on how this one goes and how my body holds up. I would love to, but my physical health comes first, and I just want to be smart with things. Like I said, I am studying to be a coach, and I think that's a great way for me to stay within the sport because I'm definitely going to miss it when I retire and all this is over. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm doing that, and I also want to try to start a diving program in Cambodia in the future. So I'm talking to a lot of people, a lot of friends about it, and becoming an Olympian was one of the biggest steps that I could to hopefully make my name into something a little bit greater, so that I can then have the opportunity to make change. Then, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that I want to do, but I just don't have the power as it stands.
Open a diving program in Cambodia. How can I help? How can everyone help? What do we do?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always been something ever since I visited when I was around 15 or 16, I believe. I mean, I didn't realize how much I have over what they don't have. And it really is sad because I can't do anything right now. And I right now I just have to work hard on what I'm doing. And then when the time comes, I can start making change. And that's when I'm going to be satisfied with all the work that's been put in.
I love it, Jordan. And I love that you mentioned you want to be a coach. What inspired you to do that? And what steps are you taking to just be able to jump right in?
What inspired me to be a coach was actually, well, so Matt Scoggin he said it for me. He really made me want to become one because how he coaches our team at UT is he's very specific with how he coaches each individual diver. And he doesn't say that, but you can tell when you're with him, when you listen to him talk. I mean, he talks to everyone differently, whether it's he needs to be more stern about it, or he needs to lay back and be more of a father figure. And for me, I need someone that is just always supportive and is just there next to me, and giving me positive vibes and having a good time. And he's done a great job at that. And so far, we've succeeded in everything that I've wanted to accomplish in being in college. And so being with him has been amazing. And so I hope to be a coach like him once I'm all graduated and done with school.
Matt Scoggin certainly inspires all of us.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up Coach Scoggin. It must be so fun to have him and Allison Gibson. I mean, it's like a Longhorn aquatics party, right? In
Yeah,
Tokyo.
yeah. Yeah, it is pretty great. I'm glad they get to all go.
What is it like to have that familiarity?
I mean, it's great to have people that you work with all the time. Allison Gibson, she is one of the hardest workers I've ever known. I mean, she has a huge background in the sport of diving, a lot of experience, and she's just a positive person to be with, no matter what, any outcome that happens within her sport. She's always smiling. She's having a good time, which is what I need. I need to be in a positive atmosphere, and she does a great job at that. And I think Matt, Allison, and I are a great trio to go to Tokyo together. And we're gonna put in the work and hopefully come out on top.
And then, of course, we can't forget Haley Hernandez, the up and comer
Yes.
Longhorn. So it's super exciting. Just
Yes.
the youth and how young some of the divers are on this Olympic team. It's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Jordan, we're talking about the Texas program. How has it developed you to become an Olympian?
I think being at Texas, I've really learned about what is good for me and what isn't. Over the past, when I've been with other coaches and other programs, I've mainly pushed myself a little bit too hard, causing injury, which has held me back in the past. But being here, the faculty, the coaching staff, I mean, they're very, very particular in what we do, and everything's set in stone already before anything happens. So we have a plan, and we execute it really well. And I mean, they're doing a great job of keeping every athlete healthy. And that's just, a small portion of what UT athletics has been doing for a lifetime. I mean, it's extraordinary. So they're doing a great job.
Jordan, I want to just talk about this past year in general. Crazy, unprecedented times with
Mhm.
not only the COVID-19 pandemic, but I mean that ice storm right before Big 12s.
Yes.
How have you been able to rise above and just put aside all this craziness that was going on that was completely out of your control?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are, have a lot of obstacles that hold them back a little bit. But I mean, if you really want something as bad as, most athletes do to reach their goals, that's an ice storm or a pandemic like COVID's not going to stop you. And for example, when COVID hit, everyone was set back. It wasn't just me; it was all athletes and every person that's living on this planet, really. So we're all on the same, we're on the same level, and so we all have to build our way back. So no one's being held back. It's you just have to work back to where you were, and if you can do that, then whoever is best on that day comes out on top. But as long as you work hard and dedicate yourself to what you're doing, I think you'll be just fine.
Jordan, I want you to take us through your mentality heading into the Olympic trials and also your mentality heading into the games here in a few weeks.
Yeah. Coming into Olympic trials, I mean, like I was saying, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect, but I just wanted to have as much fun as I could. Obviously, the atmosphere with like the audience and how many people can actually spectate was different, because they kept it at almost, I think, less than 50% capacity. But I mean, everyone did a great job at cheering. There was so much support. But I think everyone there was nervous no matter what. And then now going into Tokyo, it being the Olympics, it's even greater. But I'm telling myself that all this hard work has got me to this point, and now I just have to go out there and do what I normally do. And it's not really anything different. It's just a normal competition, and I have nothing to lose.
We touched on this earlier. You're no stranger to Olympic trials. You've been to several of them. What made this year different?
Um, I think like what we were talking about before, all the setbacks made this year very different. It ended up being, instead of 4 years, 5 years of training. And that puts a big burden on a lot of people, because some people were peaking at the time and having to then, go on break and lose facilities and places where they could train is incredibly tough. Um, and I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of athletes that weren't actually able to go to the Olympic trials because of this. But I think everyone did a great job, and we're still working hard with what we have so far.
I'm glad you mentioned maybe some athletes peaked last year when it was supposed to happen, but you didn't let that bother you. How were you able to just reset, refocus, and just train for another year?
Yeah. Well, so last year, I mean, I was training and competing really, really well. I was having so much fun, and the whole team was doing a great job with their training and showing how well they can compete with each other. And then once the pandemic hit, it really was tough. I called my dad and I really didn't know what to say. I was like, Dad, this is horrible. And it's hard for me to want to keep going just because now I don't have a pool to train at and I can't go anywhere. I can't see my friends and it's tough, but there are ways to get past that. And being an athlete, you have to just make sacrifices. I would make Zoom calls with my team every so often, like every week or so. And I just tell them that, we just have to be smart. This will all push over. It's going to take time, but just be patient and we'll see each other again. We're going to start training. We're going to work hard, but just stay in shape. And we all did like body weight workouts within our own apartments. We went out into fields, like way off, and would work out there. So it was tough, but it wasn't impossible. And I think, all the athletes around the world have shown that.
I'm so glad you mentioned that word fun, because you and Brando, you have a lot of fun and you do not take this too seriously. What is it like having a teammate like that?
That's everything. Having positive vibes while you're competing when you're in a stressful situation, that's what I think every athlete should be a part of. Brando is a great guy. He's an amazing competitor. And I actually met him a long time ago during one of our Grand Prix in Mexico, and we hit it off right away. We have really similar personalities. And I love competing with him. And we really do push each other to be the best. And I think we're going to be a great duo coming into Tokyo.
Jordan, you're an Olympian. You're on Team USA. How excited are you heading into Tokyo?
I mean, there's really no words for it. It's, 15 years of training and hard work, ups and downs, and we're finally here. And I get to leave on the 18th, meet up with the team, and actually get to compete for USA. So, I mean, this really has become a dream come true. And, I really hope that in the future, a lot of people can experience this as well. Cause I mean, it is a feeling that doesn't come around maybe ever. But it really is awesome.
There are so many amazing elements once you get to the Olympics, but what are you most excited for?
I don't want to say, okay, I'm excited for the gear. I'm really excited for the gear. Because, I was talking after Rio, I was talking to everyone, and I saw the gear, the podium outfits, the media outfits, and it is so cool how they looked, and they all walked out, and it is just a family. You walk out, you feel good when you dress well. Opening ceremonies, they had those awesome suits. I'm just so excited to look like someone that represents Team USA. And I think it's going to really boost my confidence coming into competing when the day comes.
Jordan, you dive like $1 million, and in a few weeks, you're going to look like $1 million.
I hope so.
I'm so excited to watch you. Best of luck, Jordan. You are awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.